Well, hello everyone, and I'm live, I believe. So I have been, as some of you might know from following the last several videos I've posted, I have been, I went live for like 24 days in a row and I only missed one in the middle. But I was in LA last week doing some concerts with a good friend, playing keys for him, and I'm just adjusting a few things while I am going live, which is kind of crazy. But one of the things I'm learning about going live is that people who watch live streams aren't expecting, I don't think, and people I follow say this, that you're not looking to see every element in perfect arrangement and every bit of dialogue spoken perfectly with inflection here and pause there and never an or things like that. So I'm going live, and what I'm going to ask is if anyone is watching and wants to say hello in the comments. I would love that, because that's one of the things I want to learn to do as I'm going live. Now, yesterday I posted about the fact that I'm going to be teaching in November, the 6th through the 8th, at an event called Christian Musician Summit in Seattle. And on the 6th, they have what they call intensives, where myself and another voice teacher and a guitarist and I believe a drummer and some audio people will do intensives where we meet with a group of people from 9 in the morning till about 3:30 at night, in the afternoon, with a lunch break. And that forum, that context is very different than, well, there's my keyboard right there. And like, my title of this live stream was, let me overthink this. And I crossed out overthink and said, enjoy this. And one of the things I'm learning to do is just to relax and just talk with people, talk with you. So after doing what I should have done at the top by introducing the title of the video, this is just a conversation. So at the CMS intensive, especially with all day to talk, I kind of let things be a bit of a blank slate, if you will, kind of like this display I've got here to my left. I'm using my iPad as a whiteboard, essentially, and it lets me, you can see me squiggling there to the left of the document, and I can erase that. So what I thought I would do, I was thinking about the fact that in a lot of these songs we play on worship teams, there's just a few chords, and there are limitless possibilities for what we might play on one of those songs. And a lot of the songs in this genre have 4 chords. And if you think of them in terms of the scale numbers and the key, like in C major, we're going to work with the key of C for a few minutes here. If you're thinking of C major, if you think of think of the degrees of the scale. Now that's interesting. Where'd the iPad go? It'll come back. And this is something I'm learning. This is part of going live. This is live happens, as they say. There's the keyboard and there's the iPad. I need to learn why that is going away like that. But we're all friends here, and I'm going to proceed because this is what I'm here to do today. I want to talk about the 4 chords that are in the key of C that are often used in our worship songs. And in the key of C, they would be the 1 chord. I'm going to put the numbers here beside the chords up on the top left. The 1 chord is C, the 4 chord is F, the 5 chord is G, and the 6 is A minor. Now you may notice that below, down here, I've got those chord names C, F, G, and A minor. And what I want to do with you is fill in this worksheet with some to show you some of the many possibilities that there are for each of these chords in any key that you're playing a song in. So for example, For the C chord, there's obviously just the basic triad, root, third, and fifth, C, E, G, okay? So I'm gonna put that below the C here, C major, and I'll pray for interpretation for you as you try to read my handwriting. So a very common chord that we hear in a lot of recordings, even though the chord chart might say C major, or just C, we often hear C, D, G, and I'm sure many of you know what that chord is called on charts these days. It's a C2. So I'm going to write that down here because that's one of our options. And the C2, again, has root, second, and fifth. So instead of root, third, fifth, the third is gone, and you'll see the 2. Now, some people call the C, what I'm calling a C2, they call it a C add 2, but I think it's an important distinction to note that C add 2 has the third and the second. So I often show people that it's, if you play the third and the second, it can sound like, and some of you are old enough to recognize that hook from a Carpenter's song back in the, gosh, was it 70s? Maybe 60s. Oh my gosh, I think it was 70s when I was 9. Just kidding. But yeah, it's not a super current sound to have the add to. So generally what you're hearing on the recordings that are popular these days is the C2, okay? So that's written there. Now let's see, you could also have a C sus. And I'm sure some of you could tell me how that's spelled, but the C triad itself is spelled C-E-G. The C sus, we raise the third and play the 4 instead. So we have C, F, and G. Okay, so those are the basics I'm going to suggest we work with here for these few minutes for the C chord. Now, what about the F chord? What I want to build, if you notice at the top of the screen here, you'll see it says G on top right hand. One of the things that's conspicuous about modern keyboard playing is that we often will hear a part played where the top note doesn't change, even though the chords change below it. So we're going to work toward finding chord options for the C, the F, the G, and the A minor that have a G in it, because I want to keep that G on top, all right? So aside from that thought, I'm going to go ahead and put the F, because the F major is always an option for us, but it doesn't contain a G, and F is spelled F-A-C, okay? And I'm looking for a way to have a G in that chord. So you can apply the same logic we used to turn the C chord into a C2. You can do that for the F, root, third, fifth, leave the third out and play the 2. Now look what results. Now we have a G. So if I put F2 as an option in my columns I'm building here, that now is going to let me keep the G in my type voice, or the soprano. We often describe the topmost sound as the soprano, like in a choir. It's the highest vocal part heard. So check this out. Here's the C2 chord. I'm going to just play slow quarter notes and play 1 chord per bar. And there goes my iPad again. So 1, this is the C2. Here's the F. Here's the C2. And here's the F2. Now, that may seem extremely simple to some of you who might be more advanced players technically, who could do what I call noodling, play a lot of fast stuff. But this genre and pop music in general is a fairly restrained genre in terms of instrumental piano activity or keyboard activity. So if you can just get your sort of the muscle memory built to just play simple patterns like this, again, thinking about keeping a static note on top. Here's C2, and in the left hand, I'm just playing the root of the chord. So C2, and I'll go down to an F for the F2. Now, one of the things I want to show you is one of the things that can quickly elevate this simple piano part into something that sonically reminds us of what we hear on modern recordings is using my pad player. I've got the Sunday Keys app running on my laptop here. And if I hit this button, you can't see me touching it, but I just hit the button to start the pad. And there it is. So here's the C2 and then the F2. And it's nice, very satisfying, and it's a very different effect from, listen to what happens if I choose to go C2 and then F2, lifting my hand to move up that fourth to get to the notes of the F2 in what you might call root position, where the F is on the bottom. So here's the C2, root position, and now F2, root position in the right hand. Again. Now, that melodic movement from the G up to the C is something that is not as commonly heard in pop piano or modern worship type piano playing. So that static fifth note or fifth finger soprano note, C2, F2. Now I want to expand on this, and maybe you can see here, I'm going to go for a red color here. I'm going to circle this area up here where I've written out a simple pattern. I didn't use strict music notation, but I'm giving you, I'm going to turn that pad off. I've given you a simple pattern to play, and I'm suggesting we could go eighth, eighth, quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, and we're always playing 5-2-1, 5-2-1, 5-2-1. Now what I want to do is play the C2 for a bar and then the F2 for a bar, and I want you to hear the pattern that results. Here we go. 3, 4. Now that simple, what you might call arpeggiation, rather than playing the solid notes, you break them up horizontally so they each are heard separately rather than anything being played simultaneously. That's not arpeggiated. So, and one thing you hear a lot in pop influenced keyboard parts or guitar parts is the repetition of little melodic chunks or motifs, you might say. So 5-2-1, 5-2-1, 5-2-1. And practicing a simple pattern like that can help, as I mentioned earlier, that muscle memory, that thing where we don't have to think too much about, oh gosh, what do I play for these chords that are going by? My pastor asked me to play under the prayer time or to set up a song. What do I play? Because I don't have a recording to copy. Well, you can use a pattern like this, a 5-2-1, 5-2-1, something that's repetitive like that. Now let's take it a step further and add something under the G column here. So first thing I want to write is the G triad. Whoops, it's red, but we'll just consider that amazing. So G, root third fifth. Root third fifth is G, B, D. Now, the same logic we talked about a moment ago for the C2 and the F2, we're going to leave the third out, and we could play the A. So that results in a G2, which is G, A, D. Okay? So G2. Now, one of my favorite chords, and a chord that's used a lot in modern worship, and a lot of pop music. Yeah, some of my favorite songs have this chord in it, and it's a really juicy, rich chord, and it's called the G add 4. Well, that reminds me, the G sus is one of our variations we could use for the G chord. Now, the sus is G so the G chord is G, B, D. And we want to suspend or raise the third. So now we get G, C, D. That's the G sus. Now, the favorite voicing, the favorite chord that I like to use and the guitarists often use is the G add 4. Now, the root third fifth, adding the 4 means you play the B and the C. So the third and the fourth of the chord are played together. Now it might sound kind of funny like that, but we'll often hear a voicing. Voicing means where do you put the notes in a given chord under your fingers. So this is a G add 4. Now I'm going to go from the C2 to the F2, C2, and here's the G add 4. I think that's beautiful. And one of the interesting things about it is that we keyboard players might be sort of trained or habitually clear our pedal when we do something like this. We don't generally let the minor second, the C and the B, sustain. We go, so I cleared my pedal instead of holding the C while I went to the B. But that's a texture that is, I think, beautiful. One of the things about dissonance is that it begs to be resolved. It gives a beautiful sense of forward motion in your part you're creating. So let me get the pad going, and I want you to hear that pattern again. I'm going to write what the pattern is here. Actually, I'm going to write the first pattern was C2 for bar, and then F2 for bar. Number 2 we're now doing is C2 for bar, F2 for bar, C2 for bar, and then G add 4 for a bar. Now I'll just remind whoever might be out there, if you're watching, I'd love to know where you're watching from, what your name is, blah, blah, blah in the comments. And if this material is relatable to you, if you have questions about further implications of chord voicings, I'm happy to address those. And mainly, I'm happy to not complicate things. Like I said, I'm not overthinking this. I am just telling some people who might watch the delights we can create as keyboard players. It's really such a fun, creative experience to decide literally spontaneously as you play what you're going to play. So for instance, that was all that activity was nothing I had planned, but it was all based on these common tones we're trying to keep in the G on top as we change the different chords. So again, I'm going to play this second pattern that I've written down here. Here we go, C2. I'll get the pad going. C2. Here's the F2. Back to the C2. G add 4. And I'm going to not talk this time. Sorry, that was wrong. So C, F in the bass I should have done. Now again, my keyboard went away, and so did the iPad. Now that's something I can learn from going live, and thanks for watching as live stuff happens, because it happens. All right, so one chord that came to mind as I played what I just played for you is another option for the F column, and I'm going to leave it in red, and it's a chord called an F6. I'm going to stop my pad. So the pattern I'm playing in my right hand, G, D, C, whatever chord I'm playing, whatever root I'm playing in my left hand, C, F, G, or A, I'm trying to keep this going. Now, when I go from the C2, the G is the 2 of the F chord. the C is the fifth of the F chord, but the D doesn't belong there. Rats, I guess I can't play that because the chord police might come and recognize that that's not in the chord that the chart says. Well, actually, we have freedom in this genre to color our chords, to add additional notes to the chord. So if you think in the scale of C major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the D is the sixth above the F. So root, third, fifth, sixth, those are the notes. That's certainly not the voicing I'm using. I'm using this voicing. So here's the C, F. So that's the notes of an F6 chord. Now you may be thinking, but wait a minute, you're not playing the A from the F6 chord. That sort of takes a little bit jazzier color-wise than I want in this moment, because my intent is to keep that very literal repetition of what the right hand's doing. So that's why I don't add the A there. But it's a beautiful color. You can always add it. Okay, so that's the F6. Now let's venture into the A minor chord and talk about the options we have there. Okay, so an A minor triad is spelled A-C-E. There's no G in it, but if you're familiar with chords spellings, you might know that this is root, third, and fifth. You can also play root, third, fifth, seven, and look what results. Now we have a G available to keep our little pattern going. All right, so I'm going to write A minor 7. I'm going to go back to black for this. A minor 7. Now, some of you maybe have noticed, wait a second, you've done it again. You're playing, if you play G, D, C over the A and the bass for the A minor 7, this D doesn't belong there. So I want you to think about chord tones in the scale again and number them. So if the root of the A minor 7 is the A, count up in the scale 1, 2, 3, 4. The D is the 4. So if I want to kind of give myself quote unquote permission to play the D, I can consider this and maybe tell my band that this can be an A minor 7 add 4, which is all these notes, root, third, fifth, 7, and the 4 right here. And it gives you this beautiful C2 kind of color. So A minor 7 add 4. All right, so here's that. Now this time, I'm gonna do C2 for a bar, F2 for a bar, A minor 7 add 4 for a bar, and the G add 4. And yeah, when you figure that your chord chart might say C, F, A minor, G, that wouldn't give you these colorful notes that I'm suggesting you add, but that's part of what is so, I was going to say enrapturing, but that's too flowery a word, but the richness of what we hear on contemporary recordings is the addition of the choices of chord voicings that we hear, not just voicings, but chord types that we hear. The C2 instead of the C, the G add 4 instead of just the G. And there goes my keyboard and iPad again. It'll come back. But now let me play this pattern for you. So this will be pattern 3 at the bottom on the right. And I'll start with the C2 and I will turn my pad on and be quiet. So 3, 4. Play an octave in the left hand. Now, if you will play a pattern like this at a relatively slow quarter note in 4/4, play that pattern again and again. And it's a fascinating thing to me. If I speak to classically trained pianist right now, you might have learned a Chopin etude that was unattainably difficult at first. But as you practiced it and worked on your fingerings and concentrated on hand position and arm position, all those things, with time, you could play it up to speed and with confidence. The same thing can be true of your approach to this type of playing. If you're not used to creating music on the spot, playing simple patterns like this can help your brain begin to see, oh, I see what's happening here. I can leave a common tone on top. I can play a repeating motivic pattern. And if you're not classically trained, but aren't comfortable creating something spontaneous that you didn't copy or emulate from a recording, exercises like this, patterns you play, even in different keys. If I go to the key of D major, for example, make sure the pad's not playing. Here's the G2. Here's 6, B minor. Yeah, that dissonance is so pretty as it rings through that melody. Now this time, as I play, I'm going to get a little more elaborate in the right hand on that last measure. And what I'm going to do is use the notes that I'm already playing, but you might call it displacing. I'm going to play them up an octave to create a little bit more activity in that fourth measure. So again, this will be pattern number 3 with it back in the key of C. So C2, F6. You know what? I want to change this. This is an F6. Well, that's huge. Change that. Yeah, F6. There we go. All right, so C2, F6, A minor 7 add 4, G add 4 with more activity. Another thing conspicuous about what I'm playing is I'm not filling every possible 8th note or 16th note in the measure or even quarter note. I'm very restrained. I'm going 8th, 8th quarter, pause, 8th, 8th quarter, pause, and this last measure, I play a dotted half note, which gets 3 beats. So one of the things to kind of monitor, or what would you say, self-critique, might be to ask yourself, am I playing busy right now? What could I do to make a more sparse part, a less busy part? My dear friend Carl Albrecht says a great musician has big ears. And I wish I had a picture to show of something with big ears. I could perhaps be that example. But big ears imply listening. And if you're listening in an ensemble, I would want to listen to whether other instruments are busy and if I'm walking over their activity with what I'm playing. But in my case, my big ears would tell me, remember, you don't have to play on every beat. So activity, lack of activity, activity. Now I'm going to fill this bar. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. So I think I'm going to call it a day. But I want to encourage you that one of the things I'll do is I'll put this, a PDF of this document I've created with you, or live as I did this video, on my website so you can download it. And let me think if there's other A minor 7s I want to do. No. There's not. So that's good. But thanks for watching whenever you watch. And when you do watch, you may think, wow, I wonder why his keyboard keeps going away. Did he play on that? Nope, I didn't. And it'll come back. And yeah, that's okay. But I'm going to play us out. And I appreciate you watching. Get my pad going here and just play some of these pretty lines we can create. And make some mistakes. Now, I'm not going to end yet. One of the things I want to mention is, in the left hand, you would not want to play this, the root, the 2, and the G of the C2 chord, generally our left hand will play larger intervals if it doesn't, unless it's just playing a single note. So the single note's fine, but one pretty sound is to play the fifth in your left hand, so root and fifth. So here's the C2, now, one interesting thing that happened is the C2, the A minor 7 add 4, the top part of the voicing has these three notes, but the left hand, if you play the root and the fifth, you get this beautiful sound: root, fifth, third, fourth, 7. Yeah, so many beautiful colors that you can create with these simple applications of some music theory, some chord theory, some color theory perhaps. So with that said, I will play us out, and I hope you'll enjoy trying these things. Again, check the description soon and I'll have this PDF downloaded there for you. Now, I have a hard time ending, don't I? What you might do, notice how on the top right, where I've circled it in red, where it says 521, 521, those, let me make a note up here. This should have a 1 under it because they're always 1, okay? So in any key you're playing in, you can still think 521. If you're in the key of A, let's say, you can always go 521, 521, go to the 4 chord, F sharp minor 7 add 4, and now E add 4. So it's a great musical exercise to just choose a key, or ask your spouse or your kids or your roommate to just pick a key for you. It might be B flat major, 521, E flat. Here's G minor 7 add 4, F add 4. Yeah, so it's a great exercise to be fluent or comfortable quickly going to any of those keys. So this exercise with the numbers 521 up top could be used in any key. And it's a good exercise for you also to, like I just did, I'm going to play the key of D. So D is 1, 4 is G, 6 is B minor, and 5 is A. To get, it's almost like vocabulary you're learning. If you're going to go to France, is it weird that I say gonna? Oh well, I'm a North Carolina guy. What can I do? That's something I'm used to saying. Forgive me. I was going to say I'd edit it out, but it's okay. Some of us talk like that. I talk like that. So F2, sorry, D2, D2, G6, B minor 7 add 4, yeah. So there you go. I love doing this stuff, and I hope you'll tune in next time you see me say that I'm going to go live. Thanks for watching whenever you watch, and grab this worksheet that I'll put in the comments below soon. God bless you all. I'm going to put it in the key of D now and play us out. Stay on the A add 4. And I'll go home to 1.